is Nicole Whitney, News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained.
You're listening to the News for the Soul radio network.
News for the Soul is now in its 25th year of broadcasting. Tune in live or visit the archives at newsforthesoul.com. That's newsforthesoul.com. Next on News for the Soul, Light Body Healing with Dr. Lara. Dr. Lara is a functional medicine health coach, an advanced practice clinical pharmacist specialist, master intuitive healer and channel, and international teacher and speaker on a mission to empower you to take an active role in your healing journey to achieve holistic health mastery of the mind, body and spirit. Dr. Lara combines energy medicine with functional medicine to facilitate healing at the root level. Call in now to speak with Dr. Lara today. 646-595-4274. 646-595-4274. Please welcome Dr. Lara back to News for the Soul.
Hello everyone. Welcome. Today our guest is Josette, and I do not want to butcher her last name, so I will let her. How do you say your last name?
I always say it's not my fault, it's my husband's fault. He made it sound so romantic when I met him. It's actually pronounced Tkacik. The T is silent.
Okay, Tkacik. All right, cool. Well, welcome. And I just want to jump right in because it sounds like you have been on an amazing healing journey, and what I really like to do is bring people in our audience inspiring stories so that they know that healing from chronic disease is possible, and you can do it without Western medicine also. So let's just jump right in and tell us about yourself and your journey.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm so grateful and privileged to have the opportunity to speak about my journey and hopefully be a little bit of a lighthouse. Yeah, I was diagnosed with advanced rheumatoid arthritis back in 2011. I got hit quite suddenly with the disease. I woke up in the middle of the night with knees that were about the size of large grapefruits and just got hit with excruciating pain right off the bat. Ultimately, the diagnosis was advanced in terms that my numbers were so high that they just said, it's going to rapidly destroy your body. And I'm a mom. My son was, actually, I'm going to switch over to my speaker here so you can hear me better. My son was 2 at the time, and he didn't understand what was going on. I wasn't able to pick him up or take care of him in the way I should. My husband ended up becoming Mr. Mom, and it was just a really horrible, excruciating disease. RA is not something to take lightly. It's very painful. I lost the function of my left elbow in that it fused at the joint within a week of diagnosis. But ultimately what I did do is I, in the dark night, what I call the dark night of the soul, which I think all of us eventually end up in at some point, I made a decision to, for the sake of my son, because he was still nursing, and obviously if I was going to take any of the prescriptions that they had prescribed this incredibly long list of drugs, which included a chemotherapy drug called methotrexate, and then there were drugs, what they call biologics, to completely shut down your immune system. But no doctor was ever able to tell me what was causing the disease and how to fix it. There was never that discussion. It was just drugs and pharmaceuticals and more, and deal with the side effects and, try and stay out of a wheelchair. So ultimately, for the sake of my son and because I love my son so much, I said, I'm going to try and find another way. And that threw me on a completely different trajectory. I was not into natural healing. I didn't know anything about energy healing or or even the possibility, because that's not a possibility that's presented when you go to Western medicine. Ultimately, long story short, I did take the natural path. I did not take any of the drugs. I changed my diet, changed my lifestyle, changed my mindset. And within about a year and a half, I had no symptoms. And then I had a doctor. I teach Zumba. I had a doctor come into my class and say, you know what, I'm board certified internal medicine. I have a lot of friends that are rheumatologists. They are all telling me that what you're doing is impossible, so I need to take your blood. I said, okay, fine, take my blood. I don't need to know one way or the other whether I still have the disease, because I'm functioning fine and I feel great. And ultimately, she sent the blood work down to UCLA, and they sat me down and said, we're declaring you a medical miracle because you have absolutely no evidence of this disease in your blood, and we don't know how you did it.
Wow.
So when I tried to tell them how I did it, though, they didn't want to hear it. So
right.
it only went so far.
Yeah. It's I can totally see it now. Probably there was smoke coming out of their ears, and they were looking really confused and sort of doing that little puppy dog, like cocking their head side to side.
Yeah.
So
they just wanted to say, no, it's from God. It's a medical miracle. And I'm like, nah.
You know, I'm a believer in miracles, but I also think that, you know, spirit and source brings us the tools that we need and can utilize to help us heal. So I just want just a little bit more. I want the audience to know about your background as a dancer. So, like, you weren't one of these people that had, like, lived a super inflammatory lifestyle, so to speak, before this happened. Like, you were, I would assume, as a dancer, you're an athlete. Dancing is your sport. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was definitely, I was dancing, I was active. There was a lot of, but I wasn't super healthy, because dancing in the mindset, at least for me, it was a bit toxic, because dancers are, you know, really radical in terms of keeping a very thin body. And, you know, I used to, before I got sick, I was smoking a pack a day. I quit I quit when I got pregnant, but, you know, but that was just part of the dancer lifestyle for me. So, yes, I was dancing, and I wasn't, you know, overweight and lived the inflammatory lifestyle, but my mindset was always trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it wasn't coming from a grounded, mindful point of view. It is now. Now everything's different, because I see the world differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, before I got sick, I was a dancer. I was a pro dancer. I was at Joffrey in New York, and studied ballet my entire life. I also was at Alvin Ailey. I was doing a couple off-Broadway shows. I had just gotten into musical theater for a while there. So, yeah, I was definitely an active person.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know. Rheumatoid arthritis is just such an interesting phenomenon. And so did you ever find out if there were any genetic predispositions that maybe that you had triggered through being such an intense athlete and living the dancer's lifestyle for so long?
No, they never, you know, I asked a lot of questions on this journey. I really asked a lot of questions. I saw 7 different specialists to try and help me navigate better the disease. But the answers were always the same. You'll never know what causes it. We don't know. Just do what you can to stay out of a wheelchair. Just take the drugs. And it was excruciatingly painful, the disease itself, because your body you know, is really just destroying itself. So there's a constant, just a horrific pain that goes along with the disease. But yeah, no, nobody ever said that there was any predisposition or anything. I do believe, looking back, that my lifestyle, the way I was living, the foods I was eating, the mindset I was having has huge contribution to me getting sick.
Yeah, so let's start with food, because I want to talk about both the food and the mindset. So what food changes did you make, or what have you found has been the most successful food formulary for you?
So when I did my research, I found that there were two different avenues to go on, and I actually took both, just out of an abundance of caution. The first one was alkaline diet. So you can get those little litmus tests where it tests your acidosis or acid level in your body, and I had done that, and I was off the charts acidic. So I said, okay, number one, I won't eat anything acidic. I'm going to alkalize my body. So I went on that journey where I literally just ate greens. I did lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, all of that amazing stuff to help alkalize my body. And I did that religiously for at least a year. I ate nothing but greens and alkaline foods, and I started drinking alkaline water. And then at the same time that I did that, I also did a leaky gut healing. So there is a theory that the autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis can be triggered and, even caused by perforation in your gut lining. Nobody had said this to me. I couldn't believe that there was all this information on the internet about it. And it made sense to me that maybe that's what happened, that not only being acidic, I had possibly perforations in my gut. So I went on that avenue also. There were some amino acids that I took, and also the alkaline diet helped. But there was some magic sauce that I found, which was super potent Manuka honey every morning on an empty stomach. Really helped heal my gut. So I did those two things. And like I said, probably within a year, I was completely symptom-free.
That's amazing. So tell me more, how much Manuka honey? Like just a spoonful or?
Yeah, I did a teaspoonful every morning.
Okay.
The super potent stuff it's kind of pricey. I think it was like $70 a jar on Amazon. But it works. I mean, it was, I had heard from a friend that it was just, they were using it for people who were coming out of surgery, that there was just healing everything. And I used they call it MGO, and I used an 830 or more. So super high-end, high-potency Manuka.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, and I think that's really good little tidbit for everyone out there, too, is that Manuka honey is not your normal, just everyday, what you buy off the grocery store shelf. It is known to be extremely healing and have lots of antioxidants and healing properties. So I would encourage anyone out there that's suffering not only from RA, but really any sort of autoimmune to, do your due diligence, do your research. As I always like to say, tune in with source and see if this is the right thing for you, but it can be really helpful.
Right.
Yeah. So what about supplements? I mean, besides, because I would consider the Manuka honey a supplement. I mean, it's a food, but the way it's being used. So what else besides that? Did you do anything?
Well, boy,
specific?
did I try everything and anything. Ultimately, I had some favorites, and I still do. Vitamin D, for sure, D3, with a K2 to help absorb. Calcium, because what was interesting in my blood work was that when I got diagnosed is that I was D3 and calcium deficient. So I supplemented with the D3 and the calcium with amino acids. And I'm afraid that at this point, I can't tell you the exact amino acid. I can go back and look, but there were definitely, I think it was L-lysine, that helped with the leaky gut. And then I use cell food. I love cell food. I love that supplement. It was really kind of my go-to. You just put a few drops in your water and you go about your day. And then the trace minerals helped alkalizing the body as well. Yes. So, and I'm just going to sort of throw in little tidbits as we go along here. So for everyone out there that's sort of
I love
your
notes
knowledge, obviously.
is that I would say for anyone out there, definitely do your blood work before you start to take calcium, because if you're deficient, then absolutely supplement with it, and you have to have vitamin D in order for your body to absorb it. But a lot of, there's been this mantra for so long, oh, take calcium, it'll prevent osteoporosis, take calcium for this, blah, blah, blah. And now we're knowing that that's not actually true, and too much calcium could actually contribute to hardening of your arteries and all the vasculature around your heart and contribute to heart disease. So I want to make sure that people are definitely know your numbers before you start supplementing, because it's the other way, that's the other thing is, you want to be able to track your progress. So you do your baseline, then you start to supplement based on what you find. And then, 6 months to a year later, depending on your practitioner and different things, then you can come back and recheck and correlate that with also how you're feeling. Are you feeling better? Because I think that's another thing as we go through these different journeys and we're trying all these different things. It's like, do we remember to stop and ask ourselves, is this helping in a way that I can tell that it's helping me feel better?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
cool.
I still do that. I still go and get my blood work done every 6 months. My doctor, this is now we're 9 years later, and she still comes to my class and bugs me, you're due for your blood work. And I'm like, she doesn't even test for the RA anymore because she knows that's not there. But we always go and make sure that everything's good. So that it is. Yeah, I don't supplement actually with calcium anymore. That was what I did part of my healing journey.
Yes. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that too, because it's one of those things that medicine does change, and some practitioners and some doctors don't change with the evidence as the evidence and the research updates. So it's important, I think, for all of us out there to make sure that we have practitioners, whether they're physicians or, naturopaths or whoever you're going to, make sure that, asking them questions and making sure that what they're practicing is the most up-to-date and the best evidence-based, as we like to call it. as evidence-based as we can get in the natural world, right? In the functional medicine, naturopathic world. But there is actually a lot more information out there than people realize.
Yeah, doctor, I have to say that was, my lovely doctor is one of my greatest friends. She's still board certified internal medicine. She has her own practice, but I only go to her for blood work. I have a naturopath if I have any other issues. Obviously, just because of my experience, I know that there's information that's out there that, like you just explained, they may not be on it because they're getting their information from just the Western medicine perspective. And for me and my family, I just want the whole gamut. I want to know everything about anything so that I'm fully prepared to then manage where I'm going with my health, because it's the most important thing I have. It's our greatest asset.
Absolutely. And, thank God you advocated for yourself, and you were in tune with what you were being told and what was right for you. And, you made those choices, and you were your best advocate. And that's the other thing that I really always encourage people to do is if what you're hearing from your practitioner doesn't feel right to you, keep searching, keep looking for that practitioner that when they tell you something, it resonates. You're like, and you can feel that, yes, this is true for me, versus the, ooh, no, that doesn't really resonate. I don't like that. And then also that whole culture of Western medicine of like the browbeating the patient into just submitting and doing what they're told. I hate that. So I'm so glad that you kept fighting for yourself. I mean,
that was probably actually, I have to thank that very egotistical specialist that I went to the last time, because I said, I think I'm going to look at alternatives, and I've been listening to some different ideas, and he was just not having any of it. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, lady, you're going to be back in 5 or 6 days. Don't waste my time. this is too painful. There is no alternative. You know, do whatever you want to do, but I'll see you in a week, and then you'll get on the drugs that I'm telling you to get on. But just don't waste my time with all this mumbo jumbo natural talk. And I walked out of there just going, first of all, I'm never going back to that man, because he literally was so sure that he was absolutely right and there was no other way. But it was just the feeling like you just explained. There was something that said, no way, this is not the person who's going to navigate my health, because he didn't seem to care that I was so sure inside of me that there was some other way. I didn't know it, but there must be some other way. And now looking back, you're right. I'm really glad that I listened to that instinct. And I encourage all of your listeners to not only recognize that there is another way, but that there's an inner voice inside that will guide them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have another question. What about cannabis or CBD? Did you try that or go down that path at all for help?
I did try the CBD. I found it to be very subtle. I actually did CBD for a while, but I didn't find that it helped me that much. I actually live in Carpinteria, California, where there is a CBD farm. There's several CBD farms, and we have super high quality organic CBD here that I was working with some of the owners that I knew, but it didn't do much for me. I know so many people swear by it. It did not work well for me at all.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, and the whole cannabis and CBD thing is really interesting too. And I encourage people that if you're trying it, again, make sure you have a good resource to guide you along that path, because sometimes, you know, what we can find on the internet or over the counter, those just aren't potent enough. And so you're lucky that you live in an area where there's actual farms around you, and you can go and you can probably find not only high quality, but a stronger potency than a lot of people can that don't have that resource around them, I would guess. But a lot of times, you know, with any supplement or drug or anything like that, the dose makes the cure or the poison, as they say. And it's true for CBD too. So we just need to make sure that you're getting enough to actually have that inflammation, that anti-inflammatory action kick in for you in a helpful way.
Right. Yeah, no, I've spoken to several people. I've become a bit of a magnet for people who are on that healing journey, and I do believe that many people tell me that it worked for them, but my particular journey was not, the CBD was not part of how I healed.
Okay, cool. That's really interesting and fascinating. I love it. So what else? Anything else with food or supplements before we move on to the mindset piece?
That's pretty much it. The alkaline and gut healing was everything.
Do you still do the little urine litmus testing to make sure that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you're just feeling good and you're going with it.
Yeah, I feel good. I think at the minute I know what it feels like when I start to go acidic. I think when you begin really tuning into your physicality and how you're feeling and your body and how it's working every day, you know when it's going one way or another. So I have them in my home. So I do, when my son gets sick or when my husband doesn't feel well, we do that first of all to just make sure that we're staying alkaline.
Okay, cool. So it is a tool that you still sort of come back to whenever you feel like that it'll be telling for you, that'll give you information. So that's excellent. Okay, so let's now move on to the mindset. So tell me all about that. Tell me about that part of your journey.
Well, that's a huge part of the journey, because I think ultimately what you do, or what I did, is the first thing is to take responsibility. So for me, the first step in my healing journey was to cut everyone off the hook, to not blame anyone for where I was, including my mom and my husband, who I wanted to blame for everything. But the taking full responsibility and looking to myself, looking in the mirror, not bashing myself, but just saying, look, no one is going to take this journey for you but you. You have a diagnosis. You can take it. I wasn't buying the prognosis. I got the diagnosis, but ultimately 100% of the responsibility came to me. So that was the first step, and it's a huge step to just cut everyone off the hook and just say, okay, I am in this. What's my plan? What am I going to do? And then at the same time, I asked everyone to not come to me with their concerns in terms of you need to do what the doctors tell you to do, because originally that was the big thing. Like, why are you not taking the drugs? Just do what they tell you to do. I needed that. I needed to create a sanctuary for myself. So what I did is I asked everyone who loved me and cared about me to allow me to try to heal this naturally and to support me if I needed it. So I kind of was the boss about that. I took responsibility for where I was, and I told everyone around me, I am creating a sanctuary. I told my husband that if he wanted to fight, I would automatically make him right, because my energy had to be focused on healing my body. And again, everything was for my son. Thank God that my beautiful son was there, because he inspired me to dig deeper and to drink from a deeper well and to just say, let's find out what we're really made of here. And I'm doing it because I want to show up as the best mom for him.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's so true. That's really something I think that's important for all of us, regardless if we're feeling good and healthy or if we're struggling or moving through some sort of healing journey, is that be super aware of where you're allowing your energy to leak, or what you're giving your energy to, or who you're allowing to take energy from you. So I love what you said, like, you know, if your husband wanted to fight, or, you know, you're just like not giving your energy to that. And I think that's so true, that a lot of us move through life not really being fully aware of all of the ways that our energy just leaked from us. And eventually that can also lead to dis-ease or some sort of inflammatory condition. And so it can be such a powerful energy healing process to go through and with deliberate intention call your energy back. So I would encourage everyone out there, if something is like, oh, that's really interesting, maybe look deeper into that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, being intentional with where you focus your energy on, which is exactly what you just said, is part of the mindset change. It's not something that happened overnight for me. I had to change the pattern of behaviors because they weren't working for me. So again, it was pulling, like you just said, pull your energy back into yourself, into your heart. It starts on the inside. All of this, with the exception of the food, but even that, there's an inner process that goes on that says, you have to change who you've been so you can become who you need to be. And there are a lot of patterns that I grew up with that weren't serving me. And so there was a lot of negativity that wasn't serving me. I literally just, in the pain and in the doubt and in the fear, I created a sanctuary for me and my son that was going to be filled with joy and healing and love. And when you are intentional about where you're placing your heart and placing your energy, you can, very easily turn off the news and go, I am not going to put my attention there, because where you put your attention will grow. I put my attention in love and joy and happiness, and that did grow. Yeah.
Yay. Yes. And I think also, it's I don't know anyone that it's been an overnight. It's a process for all of us. It's a practice, and it's you teach Zumba, so it's like muscle development, muscle memory. It's that awareness. It's like building that awareness muscle to also be able to realize, like, oh, like whether it's a job or a family member or you know, maybe a friend or a coworker. There's so many different ways that we can be leaking our energy and not aware of it. And so when we start to become intentional, then we can actually, it comes in the form of like healthy boundaries and saying, you know, like, no, no is a healthy and complete sentence. So Don't be afraid to, and you can say no with love too. So if you find that people are always coming to you and asking things of you, and you're one of those people that's like a giver and a constant like yes person, even at the detriment of your own health, then that's also a clue. And so be gentle with yourself, be forgiving and loving and compassionate, and just know that now you're aware and now you can make the choice to make changes. And that's powerful. That's self-empowerment. That's when you start to really have growth and start to see things change in your life in a multitude of ways.
That's exactly it. Boy, you hit the nail on the head for me, because that's what I realized was once I recognized that I was the captain of my ship, that I was the main protagonist in the movie, that I was making the choices of who was in my life, who wasn't in my life, and I could do everything with love and with compassion. I didn't need to be the doormat for anybody. The first and foremost that I needed to do was to take care of my own health and my own physicality, and I could block out negative energy with love for myself and love for my family and love for what was essential in my life. And boy, how beautiful it is to just cut off all the things that don't serve you, because you get lighter and lighter and happier. And like you just said, you also realize the power that we have to create our own reality in doing that, when you're intentional moment by moment by moment of where you're placing your heart and your energy.
Absolutely. So let's see. It seems like we're on the advice train right now. Any other advice that you would give to someone that maybe is going through a similar struggle or a similar challenge with whether it's rheumatoid arthritis or any other inflammatory process, and maybe they're in that spot where they're sort of stuck between the feeling like they should, we get into these should statements, like should follow Western medicine and should follow that path versus, maybe doing more something that's in alignment with what will truly help and benefit them and help them heal.
Right. Well, I can only say that what is possible is those of us that have healed, we can come from the other side and say it is possible to heal. It is possible to heal naturally. And while no one is going to have the same journey, there are tools that you can use, and it is one foot in front of the other. Like we just said, nothing happens overnight. So you have to be prepared for the journey of healing. It is an extraordinary journey, but it's not a walk in the park. There are times that you don't want to get out of bed because you hurt and you're in pain and you're scared and you don't know if it's really going to work for you, but you have to find the strength inside. And I can only say finding that guru inside of us is the greatest it's the greatest asset to your life you're ever going to have, because once you connect to that inner guru and that energy that is in all of us, you then walk a path where you take your cues from that space all the time. And you're not only healing, but you're shining bright for other people who are also looking to heal. So we're all connected and we're all kind of holding each other, in that space. But I would definitely say the first step would be to believe that it's possible. And the second step is to find somebody to hold your hand while you're doing it. Or if it's just, connect with you or connect with me or people who have gone through it to, I get a lot of people that send me messages and say, wait, this is happening. Has this ever happened to you? And I can say, no, it hasn't. Let me direct you to somebody who might be able to help you. I think that there's a big network of those of us in this genre, in this area, that are there to help other people, just like you.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Believe it is possible. Excellent. Yep. Absolutely. I did actually want to ask you another question about exercise and movement. And did you find that to be like a delicate balance through this, or was movement always a part of your life no matter where you were with the inflammation?
It was always a part. When I started, we used capsaicin. My husband used to spray the capsaicin on my knees and on my ankles because they were so inflamed. And the capsaicin is horrible. Oh, my God, what a horrible thing. But it does work because it burns so much that you forget you forget the pain. So my husband said it's like when you have a headache and you just bang your head with a tin can or something. You know, it's like one pain will make you forget the other pain. So the movement for me, it was more of an energy shift. When I listened to music and I started dancing, I could actually feel me going from fear to a different energy. So it was definitely the frequency shift in the energy of fear to hope, or fear to, oh, wait, maybe something else is possible. So movement, any kind of movement, getting out in nature, all of that stuff that, you know, we hear about all the time, but it's just so true. Dancing to music for me was everything. It was everything.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up too, is that whole aspect of you could feel your energy change as you were doing it. And this is a tool that we also use in yoga, especially Kundalini yoga. There's different kriyas that just tell you to like jump around, shake your whole body, because doing even something like that just for 1 to 3 minutes can totally change your energetic vibration and where and how you're holding energy in your body. So I would really encourage all of you out there to have at least a gentle movement practice, especially, if you're just getting started. But I think I've never been to a Zumba class myself, but I've heard it's super fun. It looks like it would be super fun and energetic, and, the music and the momentum and being in a room with, other people that are just there to have fun and move their body. I think that sounds therapeutic on so many ways, in so many levels.
It is. It's like going to the disco without any alcohol. It's good fun for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So, before we start to tie things up here, would you change your journey at all? Would you do anything different?
I'm so grateful for that question and grateful for the disease. Rheumatoid arthritis was the best teacher of my life. I am grateful that I was able to take that journey. I'm grateful that I was stubborn enough to not listen to Western medicine and to understand who I am, who we all are at our root level. So I wouldn't change a thing. The pain, the agony, all of that. I wouldn't change anything because it's brought me to where I am now.
Awesome. Well, so tell us about, you have a program, don't you?
I have a couple programs. I have a program called Heal, which is on my website. It's Josette T, JOSETTE, then the letter T.com, which is it's a 7 or 8 module program that goes through in detail how I healed the disease. And then I also have a course on Daily Om, which is called Soul Fire Dance Party, which it includes live classes that I did in Santa Barbara, and it includes some mindfulness meditations and some processes also that I use to help me heal. So I have those 2 programs, and I have a library of classes online as well.
Awesome. And so you said your website. Where else can people find you?
On Instagram at Josette Tkacik, Tkacik. Facebook is Zumba in SB, Santa Barbara. So Zumba in SB. And I think I'm on LinkedIn, but I couldn't tell you. It's probably just my name again. If anybody just Googles Josette with Zumba, they'll find me.
Okay, and I, just so you're aware and all of our audience is aware, on my website, I keep a show notes page after all of these episodes. So if there's ever an episode where you want to find out more about the person that we're interviewing and talking to, you can go over to drlaramay.com/podcast, and that'll bring up that's sort of like the landing page for all the different episodes. You just click on the one and that you're looking for, and then there'll be more information. So I'll have all your contact information on my website living there. So people will be able to link back and find you and reach out and hopefully, be doing some Zumba with you soon.
There you go. I love it. You too, doctor. I'm expecting you.
It's so funny that you said that you lived down there, because that's, where did you say? Carpinteria, right?
Yes. Yeah, just outside of Santa Barbara.
Yeah, so I was supposed to go to an open house at one of the cannabis farms this weekend, but I wasn't able to get myself down there. I'm trying to get my taxes done.
Oh God, I'm
so
sorry.
When you said that, I was like, oh, that's such a small world, because that was that's funny that I've never heard of this place Carpinteria before, and I've heard it a lot in the last week or two. So that's really funny.
Yeah, Cannabis Farm Central here.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that we didn't touch on, or that you wanted to bring forward, or anything else?
Not that I can think of, but thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yes. So I just have a little plug, too, that I want to throw in here before we finish up today. I am teaching an intuitive healer and wellness coach training with one of my teachers, Ann Deidre, and this is going to be all online. It's a group coaching and training program that's going to take place over 6 months. The first 2 months-ish is angelic Reiki, and it's a hybrid, so part of it's recorded, and then we get together and we do practice sessions, and I teach you some of the different healing methods, and then you come away with an angelic Reiki level 1 and 2 certificate of practitioner, and then once that's complete, then we take you through a chakra course, and Anne is teaching the classic 7 chakras, and then I'll be teaching the multidimensional chakras, and that's a big, beefy part of the 6 months. So because we'll probably be doing like 2 classes a month, and so we'll do 1 chakra per class. So if we do the math, that's like 3 to 4 months. And then on top of that, I'm teaching you muscle testing as an intuitive tool, and I feel like I'm leaving something out. But anyway, so it's going to be super fun. We're both super excited about it. And if you're interested and you want to get together with Anne and I to do a discovery call, you can message me at laramay@drlaramay.com. That's my email address. Or you can message me on Instagram or Facebook at Dr. Laramay. That's DRLARAMAY. And the discovery call is free. So if you're interested, definitely reach out, because we're probably going to be starting with the classes at the end of the month. So you still have some time, and we would love to have you as a student for anyone out there that's interested. So, okay, my dear, if there is nothing else, I think we will close up the space. Thank you so much for being here today. It was really enlightening. I am so proud of your journey and what you've done for yourself, and that you are being a beacon and an inspiration for others out there. So I'm so grateful.
Ditto, doctor. Thank you. I feel the same way about you. Thank you.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well, we will catch you in 2 weeks right here at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the Light Body Healing Radio Show. Bye.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.
You're listening to News for the Soul, Life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained since January 1997. We began our 25th year in broadcasting in January 2022, and we're just getting started, exploring the edge of human consciousness and possibility on planet Earth with founder and journalist Nicole Marie Whitney at the helm. What's really real and what's really possible? That is what we want to know. Join us at newsforthesoul.com. newsforthesoul.com.